get streaming. I think we are live. It looks like we are live, and as soon as Amazon comes up, we will start there as well. All right, we are fully live and operational, and hopefully my internet connection will behave today. That is the goal. And I am streaming now with YouTube's new interface, so this may or may not work very well. We'll find out in a minute. And what we're doing today, in case anyone is curious, I'm trying to see where it tells me how many people are watching here. Greg M is here. I'm just going to make some adjustments on my computer screen just so I can see things better. I guess there's analytics here. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, so now I'm starting to figure this out. So I'm just looking at the new interface here. We've got some folks popping in. Greg M. Wide Athramad is here. We Deathmod. Jason Jones is here. And what I thought we would do today, I'm shooting a video actually. I just did the intro to the video. And you've probably seen these before, but I don't know if this has been something that people have covered from the standpoint of cheap webcam alternatives, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. These are very low-priced USB capture cards that take HDMI in and then just go into your laptop or whatever you want to plug them into. And I thought what I would do today is record a video about how you can take the cameras you may already have in your house and turn them into webcams. And I've got my laptop here. I've got to add the NDI source to my thing here. Let me just do that real quick. So we're going to kind of demo what it's like to use these cards with some of these cameras here and then kind of offer my thoughts on it. What's crazy about these, and if you click on the link in the video description, you will find the three that I have here along with many others. And to answer Gary the IT guy's question, yeah, these are the same item, but they're under different brands. And so like you can see the range of packaging that you might receive. So I think when we unbox these things, they're going to be pretty much the same, but we'll double check. And I'll test them all to make sure they all perform at the same level. So I think what we'll do is as we work through the recording, I'm not going to kind of take up a lot of time for the recorded versions viewers to see like, okay, let's plug this one in and this one and this one. And we'll just test it real quick, make sure they all work the same, and then move on to the next one and keep going, just so I can tell people, hey, we tested them and that's how it worked. Yeah, so that's what we got there. Jason Jones says, I know there's a shortage of cameras because everyone is buying them. Yeah, if you've got a desktop computer, you need a webcam right now, right, to be on these conference calls. A lot of schools require the camera to be on, right? Yeah, so we should do all that. Gary the IT guy wants me to test one on a Chromebook, which I can do. I have a Chromebook upstairs, so remind me as we work our way through here, because the Chromebooks tend to be a little more finicky, but we will try that out. And I got to find my hub, which I have somewhere for that, but we can do that. And actually, let me go get the Chromebook now before I forget, and we'll have that ready to go. John Early wants to know, do I have HBO Max? I'm curious to know if you do, because it's not widely available. Actually, what's funny, and this is off topic, but what's funny to John's question about HBO Max in the chat room, I do have it because I pay for HBO through my cable subscription. And it's actually better for me because the NVIDIA Shield never worked with HBO Go, which was the mechanism by which you would watch HBO if you had an existing subscription. Now I can watch HBO on my Shield, which I couldn't do before, which is good. Trap Exit says, be careful. Yeah, this is one of these things I will definitely let people know that you get what you pay for on these because they will fail. Hang on one second, folks. I'm just going to run upstairs and get the Chromebook so we have that ready when we get to the later point. And we'll keep going. I think for a lot of people, they have webcams on their Chromebook already just because they are usually shipping with cameras built in. But it's good practice to test everything, which we'll do. And I just got to plug it in because I don't know if I've got a charge on this one. Let's take a look and see. So this is the Google This is my Chromebook that I have. This is the only Chromebook I have right now. I got rid of all the other ones. I should have kept them. This is the Pixelbook Go. Oh, I do have some battery left on this. This is a really nice Chromebook. If you haven't seen these, I'll add it to the Amazon thing here. Let me do that real quick. This is it's funny, this is a new computer. It came out last year. Google sent this to the channel free of charge last year, and I like this quite a bit. In fact, my daughter is using this for her schoolwork, because she starts school next week. So she's in 2 days a week and then off the other 3, well, home the other 3 learning. But this has a Core, these are like those Core M processors, you know, the Y series. And it reminds me a lot of the original Intel MacBooks. Remember they had a black one? It's like almost exactly the same size. It's a little thinner and lighter, and it's metal versus plastic. But it's a super nice Chromebook. So we will look at that when we get going there. I'll answer a couple of questions here, and then we'll keep cooking on the videos on this stuff. And thank you, TrapExit, for your reminder. I'm going to remind people that you get what you pay for here, for sure. ACB Memphis said, I had one of these arrive yesterday. It didn't work because Windows 10 said power surge detected in USB port and never responded again. So it could be that it drew too much power. That's definitely possible with these things. I don't think quality control is going to be top of mind on these devices. If I get that message, though, we'll try it with a powered hub, because I actually have a powered hub right here on the desk that we can use. Some questions about Linux. Yeah, these will work in Linux, because what they're going to do is show up as a webcam in Linux. So it'll just it's going to think it's a webcam. At least that's what it should be. Tyler Grice is a teacher trying to configure OBS to work with his setup. This couldn't be more relevant. Awesome. He's considering getting a cheaper HDMI to webcam adapter so I can free up the capture card. Yeah, that's exactly what these are good for. And Tyler, I don't know if your school district has budget for this kind of stuff. They probably don't, because most are on a shoestring. But I found that vMix would be a great solution to look at. That's what I use. It is so solid, and you have support and everything else around it. And you can get the basic version, the HD version, for like $60. And I'm really happy with vMix. One thing to note, especially if you're using an iPad, is that NewTek has an app for the iPad called NDI Capture, I believe it's called. And what that will let you do is broadcast your screen over Wi-Fi to vMix or to OBS if you have the NDI plugin installed on OBS. And that would free up a capture card for you, and it's very low latency. In fact, so anytime that you see me playing with a phone or an iPad on this channel, we are bringing the video in over NDI, which is great. It just pops up on the network, it shows up, you pull it in, boom, and you save a capture spot, which is good. It does use a little CPU, but not much, and I would definitely suggest you look at that. All right, Games and Music and More is using one of these for his streams. It's working just fine. TrapExit says, if you test these with Linux, can you check the USB IDs to make sure they're all the same device? Yeah, I probably won't get to Linux today, but maybe we can look into that on Windows. Maybe we can check the IDs. One of the things I was going to try, because I have 3 USB ports on this, more or less, is I was going to try to plug all 3 into this and see if vMix can recognize them all independently. So that might be a fun experiment. Okay, so let's begin here. And Tyler, on vMix, yeah, look into the NDI thing, and then vMix is giving out 90-day trials now, so it's worth playing with. There's a little bit of a learning curve versus OBS, but I have to say the way that it functions, once you figure it out, and they've got some great USB tutorials on their site, it's so much better. Like and just to give you an example of how good vMix is, I was using a TriCaster for the last 5 years, and I was about to upgrade to a new one. And I said, you know what, let me try running vMix for a week. And I ran it off of this laptop. 1 week became 2.5 on the laptop. And I said, I'm sold. This is good. This is perfectly fine. And so I upgraded, or I bought a bunch of parts and put together a production computer. And right now I've got 3 HDMI sources coming into this computer. I've got a fancier Blackmagic capture card. That was the most expensive component I bought. It was about $500 for the card. But it can take 4 HDMI sources up to 4K 60. Right now we're coming in at 1080p 30 and streaming out to all of you. In addition to doing some recording that we'll be doing in a few minutes, my total utilization of the system right now is like 7%. Just to give you an idea as to how efficient the software is. So we'll see what happens. On the Amazon chat, Rehan says, I'm trying to purchase something from the Kindle. Unfortunately, we are not Amazon tech support, so we cannot help you, unfortunately. But I would give a call to or an email to the tech support department, and they can help you out. All right, so let's go to the unboxing part of the video, and we'll go from there. R.D. LaCroix says, are these the capture? Yes, this is exactly the stuff that EPOS was talking about. And I'm going to take it from a perspective of, I'll do some game streaming. We'll kind of do that at the end. But I'm looking at this as like webcam alternatives, because I know there's a lot of people looking for webcams right now. All right, so let's take these 3 out of the box. Let me hit my recorder here. And by the way, I can record and stream at the same time. Isn't that cool? 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's take these things out of the box, and as I do so, just remember you always get what you pay for. There are much better capture devices out there that cost more, that have support, and companies that stand behind them. For some reason, a bunch of these just got dumped on the market, and my guess is that there's a factory in China somewhere that got a good deal on some chips and is just cranking them out. So although these are coming in different packages with different pieces of documentation, there might be some subtle differences between them, but for the most part, these things are pretty much the same and should function about the same, because I believe the inside of them is pretty much identical from one device to the other. There are some differences here as to what these are looking like here as I take them out of the box, but again, they're all coming with the same specifications and I think should perform pretty much the same. Now the devices here will capture 1080p up to 30 frames per second, but you can hook up a 4K camera. It's just going to down convert the video to 1080. And I believe it also supports lower resolutions as well. And a little later in the video, we'll experiment with some lower resolutions and see if we can get a 720p 60 signal to work on these. EPOS Vox, who's a great streaming tutorial channel, did a profile of these for people doing production and game streaming, and he did find that there was a lot of flexibility in what you can do with these devices. But today we're going to be mostly focused on webcam use, and we'll do a little bit of capture in this video as well when we get towards the end. So let me get started here. We'll just pick the first one here, plug it in. We're going to hook up a digital SLR here first. This is a Nikon D600. This is an older camera, and it has an HDMI output. Now, when you're hooking up cameras that have HDMI out, what you want to look for is a camera that can do what's called clean HDMI out, where you don't get any of the notifications and information showing up on the screen. Most cameras by default will basically send out that information, so you'll see all the little info pieces on screen, but the ones that can do a clean HDMI output will give you the option to remove that information. This D600 will do that for us. I have a Canon camcorder here that does that as well, and even the least expensive Canon Vixia camcorders will output clean HDMI. So if you do plug it in and you start seeing things on screen that you don't want, go into those menus and look around and see if you can disable those things. But just know some cameras are not friendly to this kind of use, and you may not be able to remove those pieces of information from the screen. And every camera is going to present itself differently, unfortunately. But my experience has been the mid-range Nikons and even the low-end Canons should be pretty friendly for this task. GoPros work pretty well like this as well. Other action cameras should not give you too many troubles either. Let's go ahead and plug this into Zoom and see what we get. All right, that was a little shaky, but I think we can see what we do here. Okay. Yeah, so I would not expect, I'm just going to play this back and see if I am okay with this clip. I went longer than I usually do, so I just want to make sure that I am because some of these are like less than 20 bucks. 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's take these things out of the box, and as I do so, just remember you always get what you pay for. There are much better capture devices out there that cost more, that have support, and companies that stand behind them. For some reason, a bunch of these just got dumped on the market, and my guess is that there's a factory in China somewhere that got a good deal on some chips and is just cranking them out. So although these are coming in different packages with different pieces of documentation, there might be some subtle differences between them, but for the most part, these things are pretty much the same and should function about the same, because I believe the inside of them is pretty much identical from one device to the other. There are some differences here as to what these are looking like here as I take them out of the box, but again, they're all coming with the same specifications and I think should perform pretty much the same. Now, the devices here will capture 1080p up to 30 frames per second, but you can hook up a 4K camera. It's just going to down convert the video to 1080. And I believe it also supports lower resolutions as well. And a little later in the video, we'll experiment with some lower resolutions and see if we can get a 720p 60 signal to work on these. EPOS Vox, who's a great streaming tutorial channel, did a profile of these for people doing production and game streaming, and he did find that there was a lot of flexibility in what you can do with these devices. But today we're going to be mostly focused on webcam use, and we'll do a little bit of capture in this video as well when we get towards the end. So let me get started here. We'll just pick the first one here, plug it in. We're going to hook up a digital SLR here first. This is a Nikon D600. This is an older camera, and it has an HDMI output. Now, when you're hooking up cameras that have HDMI out, what you want to look for is a camera that can do what's called clean HDMI out, where you don't get any of the notifications and information showing up on the screen. Most cameras by default will basically send out that information, so you'll see all the little info pieces on a 4K camera. It's just going to down convert the video to 1080. And I believe it also supports lower resolutions as well. And a little later in the video, we'll experiment with some lower resolutions and see if we can get a 720p 60 signal to work on these. EPOS Vox, who's a great streaming tutorial channel, did a profile of these for people doing production and game streaming, and he did find that there was a lot of flexibility in what you can do with these devices. But today we're going to be mostly focused on webcam use, and we'll do a little bit of capture in this video as well when we get towards the end. So let me get started here. We'll just pick the first one here, plug it in. All right, bear with me for 1 second, folks. I'm just gonna repeat. I don't like how I did the end of that, so I'm gonna cut it right there. And what I'm doing is just marking my clip so that when I go to edit, or Jake goes to edit, he knows what I am looking for here. Bear with me for 1 second. We're going to hook up in this video as well when we get towards the end. So let me get started here. We'll just pick the first one here, plug it in. We're going to hook up. Okay, so say cut at, get the first one here and plug it in. Okay, perfect. So we're going to basically pick it up from that point, and I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off, because I think where I left the clip, let's just rewind here a little bit. Yeah, so this will be a perfect transition, so I can grab it this way and just plug it right in. So we'll go from there. And actually, it's funny, these actually all look different. I was expecting them to be completely identical to each other, but they're not. I mean, they're the same width here, length, but they are of different shape and size each. So that was the first little surprise here. Okay, so let me just make sure I have a smooth cut here. Bear with me for 1 more second. Let's pick the first one here, plug it in. We're going to hook up a digital SL. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to grab it. I'm going to put my hand in and grab it again and then plug it in. All right, so let's do that. And the cynical gamer says, yes, I get to see the sausage being made. Exactly. So what happens, and I can tell you this without fail, it may not happen during the chat, but without fail, there will be someone who will say, this is taking forever. Why should I watch this for an hour and a half or 2 hours or however long it's going to take? So it's just how the sausage gets made. So we're going to plug this right into the side of this. By the way, one of them came with a USB-C. This is perfect because one of them has a USB-C to USB-A adapter inside. Isn't that great? That's almost worth the extra $2 that one costs. So here's the instructions, by the way. It's all in Chinese. Oh, here it is. I'm just trying to see. I think they take 720p. All right. These are MJPEG, by the way, in case you're wondering. This is a standard thing that we see all the time. And when we hook up vMix, we'll be able to look and see if it's getting any frame drops. You can't see this on mine right now, but typically what you'll see on these cheaper devices is that they will drop frames. Sometimes they deliver the video too quickly and things get out of sync. So what I have found with the cheaper stuff, and this is one of the great things that vMix can help us with, the cheaper capture devices will resync a lot. It doesn't look bad, it just is not as good as the professional stuff. So the card that I have, not to pound my chest with my equipment, but the capture card that I use for the channel on my production machine here is not 20 bucks like these things are, or 10 bucks. It is 500 bucks. and it's that for a reason, because it always works and it doesn't break and it's well designed. And these are, can we do it as cheap as possible? Okay. And Fearless Sparky said, last time I checked, I could just, click a different video. Exactly. People like to complain. You know what I found is that the harshest comments that I get are from people who don't actually make anything themselves. And it's funny because people that do make videos or understand how to make videos, like those folks are, I think, when they do criticize, it's far more productive criticism. You know what I mean? Like than just you're a windbag or whatever, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it does take a lot of time. Typically, it depends on what it is. Now, because I'm streaming this and I'm taking breaks to chat with you all, it'll take longer. But generally, I found that it takes me, no matter what, about 2 hours to make a video. And about like a 15 or like a 10-minute, 12-minute review is about 2 hours of work of just shooting, and then the editing and the uploading. So there's a lot that goes to it. So. Cynical Gamer says, imagine complaining about free content. It's funny, isn't it? I get complaints about the ads now also. I don't control that. And my response is, like, if you don't like the ads and you watch a lot of YouTube, then YouTube Premium is worth it. I mean, it's like, what, 10 or 12 bucks a month? It's cheaper than Netflix. And I watch far more YouTube than I watch Netflix. I love Premium YouTube. I mean, just hit a button, boom. No ads, nothing. It's great. Okay. So we got Zoom running here, and what I'm going to do now is pick it up from grabbing this one, and I'm going to get the continuity somewhat right here. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we've got Zoom. Actually, let me see how I left that real quick. Bear with me for one more second, folks. I just want to get this cut as good as possible. Let me get started here. We'll just pick the first one here, plug it in. That's how we're going to do it. Okay. 3, 2, 1. And I'm plugging it into my gaming laptop here, which is running Zoom. And this would be the same if you were plugging it into a desktop computer or another laptop. We're running Windows right now, but we'll check out Chrome OS in a little bit. And what's happening right now as we plug this thing in is that the system is recognizing it. It says setting up a device, and it looks like it was able to get it going. And what I'm going to do now is connect up this camera. This is a Nikon DSLR. This is an older one called the D600, but it actually outputs a really nice HDMI signal. Now, if you have one of these cameras, your mileage will vary because every one of these cameras does something a little different when it comes to its HDMI video output. Some will have HDMI out, but they won't give you a full frame. Others will give you some image, but it'll have stuff on the screen. So what you want to look for is a camera that can do a clean HDMI output. And it's hard to find the specifications on that for most cameras, so you may have to ask around or poke around in the settings. What I found is that The mid-range of the Nikons and Canons tend to do that because a lot of video creators are using these as studio cameras. The Canon camcorders, even the really low-cost ones, all support clean output through their HDMI. In fact, most camcorders do. So if you have an old camcorder kicking around with HDMI, plug it in and see what happens. You might have to go through some menus to take off the excess text and stuff that pops up on the display, but generally it works pretty well. And what I'm doing right now is trying to fit this HDMI cable into this, and believe it or not, it doesn't seem to be, there it goes. It doesn't seem to be fitting initially, but now it's plugged in. All right, so we are outputting video here. Let me just get the video output going on the camera. This is not going to be one of the best shots ever, but it'll be good enough to get started with here. So let's get it on my little MacBook here. So there we go. We'll just focus in on something. Okay, so we're going to switch over to Zoom. And what I'm going to do here is go into my settings and go to video. Now, what it's going to default to more than likely will be the camera that you have on your laptop. And I have an option now for USB video here. So let's select that and let's see what we get. Look at that. We've got the Nikon camera here on screen. And look at that. We can get a nice bokeh. I've got a 50mm lens on it. So let me zoom in on my messy desk here and you can get a feel for what that looks like. Pretty cool stuff. So we could be broadcasting this out now as a webcam just by using one of these super low-cost adapters. Pretty cool stuff. Let's try one of the other ones. Okay. So Sloth.TX says that my Amazon stream today is not the smoother one, which is interesting because usually the Amazon one does better than the YouTube one. It's kind of funny. I can't catch a break with this streaming stuff. What we're going to be doing very soon is getting my my new connection from Comcast. They are coming out. So the fiber optic guy was here. And surprisingly, they're going to try to use my existing underground conduit. So it should be a pretty quick install, believe it or not, he said. There's a couple of steps. So they've got to run the cable from the pole first, or to the pole, then down the pole, underground. And I'll do a video about the whole connection. It's actually kind of fun. And then they're going to leave the cable outside, and then another group has to come in to bring the cable inside and splice it. And then when they're done with that, Comcast finishes up the interconnect. Okay, so let's take a look at, let's see how this works. I'm just trying to make it clear to people, this is the hard part, is that you got to set expectations for the viewer because this video is being focused on people who are not all that technically savvy. And they have a problem that they're trying to solve, and they likely found my video from a Google search. That's the mindset I'm in right now. So I need to make sure that this would make sense to anyone who comes across the video, because it's not always clear that your camera is just going to work out of the gate. It may not work at all because it may put stuff up on screen. And I'm plugging it into my gaming laptop here, which is running Zoom. And this would be the same if you were plugging it into a desktop computer or another laptop. We're running Windows right now, but we'll check out Chrome OS in a little bit. And what's happening right now as we plug this thing in is that the system is recognizing it. It says setting up a device, and it looks like it was able to get it going. And what I'm going to do now is connect up this camera. This is a Nikon DSLR. This is an older one called the D600, but it actually outputs a really nice HDMI signal. Now, if you have one of these cameras, your mileage will vary because every one of these cameras does something a little different when it comes to its HDMI video output. Some will have HDMI out, but they won't give you a full frame. Others will give you some image, but it'll have stuff on the screen. So what you want to look for is a camera that can do a clean HDMI output. And it's hard to find the specifications on that for most cameras, so you may have to ask around or poke around in the settings. What I found is that the mid-range of the Nikons and Canons tend to do that because a lot of video creators are using these as studio cameras. The Canon camcorders, even the really low-cost ones, all support clean output through their HDMI. In fact, most camcorders do. So if you have an old camcorder kicking around with HDMI, plug it in and see what happens. You might have to go through some menus to take off the excess text and stuff that pops up on the display, but generally it works pretty well. And what I'm doing right now is trying to fit this HDMI cable into this, and believe it or not, it doesn't seem to be, there it goes, it doesn't seem to be fitting initially, but now it's plugged in. All right, so we are outputting video here. Let me just get the video output going on the camera. This is not going to be one of the best shots ever, but it'll be good enough to get started with here. So let's get it on my little MacBook here. So there we go. We'll focus it on something. Okay, so we're going to switch over to, so I'm going to actually, when I do the edit, I'm going to cut out that part and just cut right to the screen here. Zoom. And what I'm going to do here is go into my settings and go to video. Now, what it's going to default to more than likely will be the camera that you have on your laptop. And I have an option now for USB video here. So let's select that and let's see what we get. Look at that. We've got the Nikon camera here on screen. And look at that. We can get a nice bokeh. I've got a 50mm lens on it. So let me zoom in on my messy desk here and you can get a feel for what that looks like. Pretty cool stuff. So we could be broadcasting this out now as a webcam just by using one of these super low-cost adapters. Pretty cool stuff. Let's try one of the other ones. All right, I can live with that. What did you all think of that? Did you like that? Did that make sense? Let me know. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pull out this one and plug in a different one. And let's see what happens next. Three, two, one. All right, so let's try 3, 2, 1. So we're going to go through the other two here real quick. We're going to get this one now. 3, 2, 1. So we're going to try out another one now, and I'm going to try to figure out how to best, I could probably do this quickly, I think, right? 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're going to try out another one now and see if it performs the same. This one looks a little different. Let's go back to our computer here. I'm just going to pull this one out. I'm going to plug the HDMI in before I plug in the unit here just to see what happens, and we'll attach it up to the laptop. And it should repeat what happened before. We'll probably get a little message saying that it's getting everything set up. And actually, it looks like it took it right away. So let me go over to the little gear icon here. Let's go to video. And let's see if it picks up anything. So right now it's got color bars, which is interesting. Let me turn the video back on the camera. And we got to go to this live view here. Yep, there we go. So the other one seems to be working just as well as the first one did. We've got one more to try out, though. Let's plug that one in and see what happens. Okay. What do you think of that one? That worked okay. I just want to demonstrate that all three work. So that way we don't have to keep going through this every time, right? And then we can kind of dive into some other topics. All right, so 4, card 2, test. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're going to try out another one now and see if it performs the same. This one looks a little different. Let's go back to our computer here. I'm just going to pull this one out. I'm going to plug the HDMI in before I plug in the unit here just to see what happens, and we'll attach it up to the laptop. And it should repeat what happened before. We'll probably get a little message saying that it's getting everything set up. And actually, it looks like it took it right away. So let me go over to the little gear icon here. Let's go to video. And let's see if it picks up anything. So right now it's got color bars, which is interesting. Let me turn the video back on the camera. And we got to go to this live view here. Yep, there we go. So the other one seems to be working just as well as the first one did. We've got one more to try out, though. Let's plug that one in and see what happens. All right, I can live with that. This may or may not make the cut later. Because it's kind of boring if you're coming for that. I mean, it's good in the stream, but I'm just going to record it anyhow just to have it. All right, so that one works, and let's try the last one. Okay, so we last left off on me, and I think what I'm going to do is just record me saying, and we tested the other two, and they worked exactly the same. And then I'll probably switch to plugging in the camcorder. I think I want to show a couple of other different types of cameras. And I actually have one in back that might be a good one to look at here too. But yeah, I'm getting the sense, Anthony Gwynn there says that they're all using the same driver, exactly. Lorindo Almeida wants to know what version of Windows. So I'm pretty sure this is the most up-to-date one. Let me look and see what we have here. Let me go to the computer and find out. I think I am on, this is, I'm like totally, why am I not seeing the version number on here? Usually it tells you right here, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm on Windows 10 Home, but it doesn't say whether or not this is version 2004 or not. Where do I find that, everybody? I'm getting older. I'm getting old and I forget everything now, so I have no idea what is what anymore. Let me see, maybe it's in the update, Windows Update section here. OS build info. Okay, that's what we want, right? Yeah, 2004. That's what this is. Mark Rousey says, are these Windows only? No, these should work on the Mac also and on Linux, and we're going to try Chrome OS in a minute as well. So we're just going to go through and plug the last one in, and then we'll come back and try some other platforms. All right. And like I said, I think I might cut this part out of the video, but I'm going to record it anyhow just to have it. 3, 2, 1. All right, we've got the last one here. We're going to plug this one in and see what happens next here. So we've just plugged it in. And what's interesting is that it's not installing drivers every time I install a new card. So I think these are, again, all running with the same hardware. We're going to switch the SLR on here again. I'm going to switch over to our computer screen, and I'm going to go to the gear icon and go back to video here in Zoom. And sure enough, our camera is working just fine. So all good stuff. All right, boom, card 3. Yeah, I think it's going to be more efficient to just say, and we tested the other two and they worked identically. So that might be a good segue to see, can we use all 3 at the same time? Or maybe I'll plug in the Canon camcorder and just try. So let me just record that just to have it, and then I can figure out when we go to edit. Because sometimes these videos run long, and if I have a way to make it more efficient, whoa. Oh, so it must be 2:30. Yes, it is 2:30. So here's what happens at 2:30, everybody. There is a rock quarry. This is a crazy tangent right now. There is a rock quarry about, I don't know, 4 miles away, like over that way. And then like every week or two at 2:30 p.m. on the button, they blow up something and the whole house shakes. And so I used to think these were earthquakes until I realized that it happened all the time at 2:30. And this company never tells anybody that they're going to blow stuff up. And usually it's like this very low rumble. It's not a big deal. But a few weeks ago, they blew something up. And man, the house got, I mean, if you had a seismograph, it would have been like measurable, like super measurable. It was pretty crazy. So that's that. Yeah, so if I don't have a Linux computer handy at the moment, so if someone can let me know, I think the best way to check the IDs, let me know what you think is the best way to check the IDs. I'll leave it there. If there's a piece of software that will do that, would like hardware info or something do that? We'll have to see. All right. Yeah, we're going to get to OBS in a few minutes. What we're doing on this video, though, the main focus of it, because everyone's talked about OBS already when they've looked at these, we're going to be focused primarily on using these as a webcam. All right, so let me see where I ended. I'm just looking at my list, my shot list here. Focusing on something. Okay, so we're going to switch over to Zoom, USB video here. So let's select that, and let's see what we get. Look at that. We've got the Nikon camera here on screen, and look at that. We can get a nice bokeh. I've got a 50mm lens on it. So let me zoom in on my messy desk here, and you can get a feel for what that looks like. Pretty cool stuff. So we could be broadcasting this out now as a webcam just by using one of these super low-cost adapters. Pretty cool stuff. Let's try. What I can do here is I can say, all right, we tried the camera with the other two, it worked fine. Maybe we'll do the Canon camcorder now, just to make sure it works. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so. So someone's wondering what kind of explosion. Yeah, these are not fracking explosions. They sell like marble and other rock. So they have like a big hole that they blow up all the time to get the rock freed up. So that's what they're doing. So I guess it's more or less mining, but it's not underground mining. They're doing it from the strip mining. I don't know what the right term is, but. All right, so device properties, it'll tell you. All right, let's look at that real quick before we move on, because I know that's going to be, this will inform something later, because somebody might decide, well, I'm a teacher, because we have a teacher on the chat right now who might say, hey, can I get a couple of these, and will they show up as separate devices? All right, so let's do that real quick. We'll go into the device manager. And this is why I like doing these things live, because you all inform me with some really good questions that help the viewers later. So, so we're going to go down to USB. Let's see if we can find it on the list here. Or it might come under something else. Huh? Let's see. Properties Details tab. Oh, right. Device Manager, right-click Device Properties Details tab, Hardware IDs. Okay. So we got to do those. We got to find where it is. And I got to tell you, my eyes have been getting worse and worse. And I have had great eyesight my entire life, but lately, like the last 6 months, I can't see anything anymore. Okay, so here we are. And we'll go over to Details, Hardware IDs. Okay, so let's make note. Can you all see that? Let me zoom this in real quick so we can make note of that. And maybe what I'll do is record some B-roll, and then we'll plug in another one and see what that looks like. So bear with me here. I'm going to go to the position, and we're just going to zoom in to that spot right there so we can all see that. And we're going to reset this in a minute, but we're going to, I'm just going to record this for about 5 or 10 seconds. And TrapExit says has one vendor ID 534D and product ID 2109. And it looks like it's exactly what I've got, 534D. Okay, so we're going to call this B-roll. B-roll USB ID for device 1. And I got a feeling that when we plug in the other ones, we're going to get the same exact thing. What do you all think? Let's try that. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we're going to unplug the first one here. And let's plug in the next one. And let's see what we get. Okay, so it's plugged in. And let's go back to USB video, properties, details, hardware IDs, 534D. So I have a feeling, right, these won't show up as individual devices if we plug them all in, right? I think that's going to be the case. So let's go back and just log this B-roll clip real quick. I like to have more footage than I would end up using just to be safe. B-roll USB ID for device 2. And again, I'm trying not to go into the weeds with this. So what the relevance of this is going to be is that, for the viewer, is that if these all have the same hardware ID, which they will, they may not work at the same time. And if you were buying a bunch of these thinking, oh, this is a great deal, right? I can have 3 of these things at the same time. I don't know if they're going to show up separately, so we're going to try that in a minute. Okay, so we've got that one, and I bet you, as we are all speculating, that they will have the same hardware ID. Let's see. Yep, same thing. 534-2109. So these are the same chipset. So they should have a unique serial number then, right? There should be some other unique identifier. And I could just overlay this as a B-roll clip. Actually, what I could do is load it up as B-roll now, and then I could just do it right now as we're shooting, so we don't have to do it again later. So let me just roll in that one, and yeah, it's about 10 seconds. That should work fine. Okay, so what I'll do here, watch this. I can just roll it in, and I could be chatting away, and I set up a little macro here so that when it's done playing the B-roll clip, it will do this. Right now, see that? Isn't that cool? It does it by itself. Oh, that's a good question. Do all three transmit color bars when they're not in use? And in fact, no, because this one I just plugged in does not seem to be doing color bars. So that one does no color bars. This one, that one does. This one does color bars. And this one does not. So only one of them does color bars. Isn't that funny? All right. All right, so you know what we're going to do now is we're going to set up two of them before I start shooting, just because I think everyone knows how they work now, so we're not going to try to bore people with too much extra stuff. And what I've got to find now, see, of course, now I thought I was so well prepared, and then I remembered that I'm missing. I need another cable. This always happens whenever oh, here it is. Perfect. Okay. I got it right here. Okay, so, because both of these camcorders use mini HDMI outputs. Okay. And I think what we'll do after this is we'll go into the quality. What does the video quality look like? And that'll be a good excuse to bring in vMix and start playing around with that a little bit. Okay. Let's see what I got. Some other questions here. Mr. Chan W wants to know, do I have the pass-through one? I do not, although I did get some in recently that did have pass-through that cost more. But the solution, I would say, is, you know, given the price on these, is to pick up an inexpensive HDMI splitter. Problem solved, generally. All right, so let me go back to where I left off here. Let's try one of the other ones. USB, get a feel for what that looks like. Pretty cool stuff. So we could be broadcasting this out now as a webcam just by using one of these super low-cost adapters. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, so what I could say is that we tried the other two, and it all worked out. Okay, I said OBS instead of USB. Where did I say that? I've been doing that lately too. I've been saying like the wrong acronym. Let's go back and see what. So let's get it on my little MacBook here. So there we go. We'll just focus in on something. Okay, so we're going to switch over to Zoom, and what I'm going to do here is go into my settings and go to video. Now, what it's going to default to more than likely will be the camera that you have on your laptop, and I have an option now for USB video here. So let's select that. And let's see what we get. Look at that. We've got the Nikon camera here on screen. And look at that. We can get a nice bokeh. I've got a 50mm lens on it. So let me zoom in on my messy desk here, and you can get a feel for what that looks like. Pretty cool stuff. So we could be broadcasting this out now as a webcam just by using one of these super low-cost adapters. Pretty cool stuff. Let's try one of the other ones. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're going to... I'm just going to go and reset this view here so we get the full screen back again. Okay, so now we're going to plug 2 in, and then we'll pick up the next shot and make sure we can get both on. So what I'm going to do now then, I'm just trying to think through like how to make this look the best, is I think we're going to plug these in now. And I have some tripods set up, so I should be able to work with these here in a different way. Let's plug this one into the back. So I got 2 connected now. And let's go load up vMix real quick, and then we'll bring them in, because I want to show people what does this look like, so they have an idea. And then we'll have a discussion about audio and where to bring that in from. Okay. So let's make sure we cover audio. Okay. So we're going to go into vMix, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add these individually as cameras. So if we go over to, I'm not going to talk about this in the video just because it's not focused on that, but we're going to go to camera here, and we should see, yep, we got 2 of them here. So we got 2. So we'll bring in the first one. There's the first one. And then we'll do this and bring in the second one. So add input, camera, select the second one, and boom. Okay. Oh, that's odd. Look at that. It's not working very well at all. Let me get this. Yeah, so, well, you know what's funny is that, yeah, it's coming in at like 10 frames per second, so something's not good here. Let's see what's going on with this. That's very odd. So it's not coming in very well on vMix here. It's like a fraction of what it should be. vMix is set to 1080p 30, so let's go in and make sure that I didn't screw up something on the settings. Oh, I ran into this before. I remember this now. We have to force something here. So what we have to do is force this as MJPEG. That's what happened. I encountered this with a similar lower cost device. So the video format is MJPEG, and this is like a specific thing for just vMix. But that should, yeah, that did it. Okay, much better. So let's do that to the other one. And you can see the other one's all screwed up because it's totally screwing up on its, so we're going to go to change, and we're going to select the same camera again, but this time we are going to have it set to MJPEG. Okay. Oh, it's still kind of funky, isn't it? Look at that. And sometimes I would consider that to be a problem with the cable, but we saw that it was working fine before. So let me reseat the cable here and see if that has any bearing. The good news is it is picking them up independently, so that's good. That is so weird. Isn't that wild? And maybe it's just what the camera's outputting, but it looks like a bad cable, doesn't it? And this is the same cable we were using a second ago. All right, so let's go back to Zoom. Let me just save my settings here real quick. Yeah, I haven't gotten to 720p 60. Again, we're kind of focused on the webcam thing at the moment, and then we'll look at some of the other use cases. So we're going to call this USB test. It's going to save the profile. And let's quit vMix here. And we're going to jump out back to Zoom, because I'm curious now if this is unique to, okay, so there's the first one. Oops. And here's the second one. Yeah, it's doing it here too. All right, so let's unplug it. And let me try a different USB port. I mean, it could be that the cable went bad in the last 5 minutes. That's not unusual. So now it's not working at all. Let's go USB video. All right, that's the camcorder. Okay, that looks better. Didn't like that USB port. Okay, so now let's go back to vMix. And by the way, my screen just froze up here. Can't win. Cannot win. I think I moved the computer. Sometimes the network cable gets nudged and it pops out. I got to replace the LAN cable here. Okay, so let me get back to my screen here. Bear with me 1 second, folks. Let me just cycle this. And what I'm going to probably do is run these two cameras as independent outputs over NDI from vMix so we can get a feel for what the quality would look like. So let's go and open these back up again. Oops, wrong one. Cancel. And for some reason my NDI thing here is not vMix desktop capture. All right, that's the wrong one. Okay, there we go. All right, so I can show you this again. So let's go and open USB test. You may have to reset that other adapter, yeah. So let's reset this one. And we'll change this. And we'll go to the second one. And again, we got to select video format MJPEG, just on vMix. There you go, okay. So now we've got two sources here, decent frame rate. So that looks good. My workspace is a total disaster. I have not had time. I just go from one project to the next, and there you go. Okay. So that is good, and I think I'm going to want to go, so let me save this again just so we have it. And what I'm going to do now is get these cameras mounted onto tripods. So I'm going to put the SLR up on this tripod here. And I'm just embarrassed to show you the status of my workspace right now. It's so bad. But the reason it's so bad is that I've been just doing nothing but cranking out content lately. So that's been part of it. And the challenge with this SLR is that they're so bad at focusing. You know, you've got to get the focus right. And so this is going to be a bit of a challenge here to get the focus in the right spot. Because you can't autofocus the camera unless you're pushing down the thing. And I've got a remote somewhere, but I don't know what I did with it. So, but I'm not even sure that remote can focus the camera. And this one doesn't have like a thing. So I'm going to kind of guesstimate it. Oh, I've got to tilt this way. Okay. Bear with me, I'm just putting this on the tripod here. I wonder why it's not going in. That should fit. There we go. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to try to guesstimate where I'm going to be at for focus, which is about where the chair is. And hopefully that will work. And we'll take a look and see how it looks here in a second. Let's pop in over there. This is the one problem without having somebody here. So usually Jake would be here helping me out, but he is, my room doesn't have decent enough ventilation to meet all the guidelines and everything. So I wonder if I could switch it into manual focus mode here and just try that. And I got to tilt it up a little bit too. So there we go. Let's take a look at that. All right, so that I need a little less headroom. All right, that works. Now I just got to focus this. So let us do that real quick. A little bit more to the left. The other way. That's getting better. So a little bit more. Well, looks good. Tell you, I should start using this camera more often. All right. Focus might be a little soft, but I think it'll work. All right, so now I'm going to have output 2 go out over NDI so I can bring it in directly. And I think there's probably going to be some delay in the audio, but you can tell me. Let's see, output NDI is on. I'm going to send out 2 NDIs. We're going to do input 2. And we're going to do, actually I'll just set them to the input 1 here, input 2 here. Okay. And so now if I go to my production computer here, which is not the one you're currently looking at, and I go over to NDI. Quality looks pretty good though, I think. All right, so why am I not seeing those yet? Oh, wait, vMix output 1 and output 2. Okay, there we go. So that should be the camcorder, yep. And then the next one is going to totally be a good processor test here. vMix output 2 should be, there we go. All right, so the problem though is that I am frozen. So this is not the fault of the device. It's just, the NDI is just, maybe it's just bogged down. I think what I might do is, let me disable the other one first here and see if that makes an improvement. All right, so I'm gonna plug it in directly, I think is what I'm gonna do. So to do that, I'm just working through my problems here. I think the image quality looks great. It's just odd that I'm not getting a good thing out here. Let me close out the desktop share real quick and see if that might improve. That's better. Yeah, it's much better. Okay. That looks really good. There's just a long delay because my audio is coming in through this one and not through the other thing. So that's why we're having that. So what I should do, let me record this real quick and see what the latency looks like. So let's do a quick recording and then I'll play it back so I can see what it looks like on this end. All right, so this is a test of the digital SLR. This is only a test. Thank you for watching. Okay, so let me go back to my recording list here. I'm just going to drop it in, and let's see how that looked. All right. Okay. Sorry for missing all the chats, everybody. I've been like tunnel vision on trying to get this stuff to work. All right, so this is a test of the digital SLR. This is only a test. Thank you for watching. Okay, so that is a problem, but what I could do is I do want to show people like how the audio works as well. And it doesn't appear to be getting any audio out of the camera at the moment, but it could be because I don't have the audio on. So let's go to